What are you doing here?
I don't know. What are you doing here in my booth?
I don't know. I was going to talk to Colin Firth.
How dare you? Oh, well, fine. I'm a substitute for Colin.
Okay. Hello and welcome to I Know That Voice, the podcast about voice actors and voice acting. I'm Keith Wickham. I'm a voice actor, have been for 30 years. You'll know me best probably as Sir Topham Hatt from Thomas and Friends, as well as Gordon, Henry, Edward and various other engines in the show. I'm also Professor Inkling and Shellington in the Octonauts, and I was a koala brother. I was Cornel and Watch My Chops. I was in 64 Zoo Lane. I was also Change Daily in The Secret Show.
Could you get on with it, Keith?
I thought it'd be nice to talk to my fellow voice artists about their profession. These are people whose voices you will know, but who could still go to the supermarket without being mobbed. My guest today is a hugely talented voice artist, and she's best known as Wendy and Pilchard in Bob the Builder. She's also in the Octonauts, Shaun the Sheep. She was also in Chicken Run, and, of course, The Secret Show. It's the wonderful Kate Harbour. Well, Kate Harbour, now I'm going to start by saying we know each other originally from Bob the Builder way back, because I did a little bit in that once.
Yes.
Way back.
Yes.
But mostly The Secret Show, wasn't it?
Yes, mostly The Secret Show.
For 3 years, I think it was. I think it was one of all of our favourite gigs, wasn't it? It was one of the
definitely
top 5 or so gigs that we ever did.
Oh, most definitely. Yes.
But we'll get on to that. Because Kate, versatile and brilliant voice artist, Bob the Builder, Octonaut, Shaun the Sheep, Messi Goes to Okido. Am I getting that right?
That's correct.
Well done.
Yes.
Well done, Keith.
Well done, Keith.
And Chicken Run. You were in Chicken Run.
Yeah.
What were you in Chicken Run?
Biscuit chicken and
Of
various
course
others.
You were.
Yes.
Yes. We also worked on the Octonauts together. You were the Vegemals.
I was.
And various other characters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But we'll start at the beginning.
At the very beginning. Thank you.
There you go. Proving the point I was going to make. It was that you come from a pretty show-busy background.
Yes, Tina Sparkle.
Don't you? Anyway, let's start at the beginning. Your family, quite show-busy.
Yes. Yes, well, my father, Michael.
Yes.
Michael N. Harbour.
N. Harbour.
He put the N in because people kept saying my Clarber. And, so,
Right.
And it also,
Right.
it was the name of his uncle, Ninian. Father Ninian, in fact. Yes, he was an actor. And in fact, he met my mum at the Company of 10, the amateur
which is
dramatics.
where I started.
Yes.
Yes.
In fact, it was his dad, Harold, who sometimes did a bit of direction there. And also my mum's parents were there. So it was a family affair.
Wow.
That's how they met.
Was your mother an actor as well?
Well, she
professionally?
was, yes. And then she did a bit of modelling as well.
Okay.
And then she basically, needed to look after my dad because he is quite a handful, let's say.
Okay.
Yes, but she did her job, which she, I think, did brilliantly, was bringing us 2 girls up, Emma and myself. So, yeah.
And so was it a done deal that you were going to be an actress, or was that something? No.
No, that's the thing, you see. Emma was always, doing the acting. And I was always prancing about and dancing a lot. I did gymnastics as well, and I was always dancing. And but also, I found a diary the other day, and it's from my mum, and it said, yes, she's, I don't know how many months old or whatever, but she's constantly imitating us. Oh. She's constantly, and she's always standing on her head. I was always doing impressions of people, of the family, and all of that, but it was actually the Muppets. That was my thing. So I used to watch that all the time and do the impressions of people like Frank Spencer and Janet Brown and all of that. I'm showing my age now. And that was the start. And I started off doing ballet when I was 4. And it was more me, Kate the ballet dancer, and Emma the actor.
Okay.
And that sort of stayed like that, really. For quite some time, all the way through when we went to arts educational school in Tring.
Oh.
It was really intense. I mean, when I look back on it, it was really quite an extraordinary existence. So you would do, half the day vocation, half the day education.
Wow.
But it was really, aspirational, and but they did enjoy my need to sort of express myself with my dancing.
Okay.
And complimented me, I think, at the same time as saying she'll never make a dancer, saying things like, she's a great storyteller and she expresses herself well and all of that stuff.
Okay.
And so that was a little sort of individual fire that I had.
But it's very. I've said this a few times in the past, how early you have to start to do any of this stuff, really, like piano playing or dancing. Right, you have to start early, don't you?
Well, you do. I think for me, I didn't have the natural facility, i.e. I've got what I would like to call Celtic hips and slightly knobbly knees. But I which is why I had to work extra hard to get my leg round my ear, which I did. And yes, I did work very, 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 very hard. But there are some people who do start later. And because they've got the body and the kit already going, and they're taught by the right person, of course they can. Of course they can. And they just have to work hard.
Your acting ability rather than dancing, when did that sort of manifest itself?
Well, the thing is that obviously going from dancing, my first ever job was the back end of Maggie the Cow. And so... It's a rather nice segue there. So that was
mine was in bee jams, stacking shelves. So,
bee jams?
Yes.
Oh my God, I remember bee jams.
Yeah, that was my first job. And your first job sounds much better.
The front half was George Asprey, who ended up being my boyfriend for a bit, not surprisingly. And we fell off the stage and split the cow skin. It was quite a tumble. Sweet tea, and I was fine. But but back into Maggie the Cow, carried on with that, lots of musical theatre. And of course, I was tearing tickets out front at the Palladium. So for the production of Oliver, the Cameron Mackintosh one in 92-3 or something. And so I auditioned, did an open audition. I didn't have an agent at the time. And I got the part. I.e. the part of chorus girl and understudying Charlotte. Yeah. And so that whenever I went on stage, all the front of house staff would wave banners at the back going, "Go on, Kate, West End Wendy." That they were so lovely. They had to be told off, though, because they were very distracting.
You're not meant to do that, really.
Not meant to do that, no. Terribly uncouth. Yeah. And then I did Martin Guerre. That was in the second class.
I remember seeing that.
Of that.
Yes.
And I played... I understudied Susan Fay, and so I went on several times for that. But all the while, I did a tape and sent it off to various people. And I think I got my first agent out of that. Started doing a few jobs, and then the first job that I got was for SFTV. We used to call it Stuffy Face Telly because they did very good lunch.
Okay, well, that's good.
And I auditioned for that. And because I could do more than just the one voice, so Donna the Dragon and whatever, I just kept coming up with ideas for them. And they were like, yeah. So that's when the ball started rolling, really. And that was a radio thing.
Okay.
And then I just sort of dug down a little bit deeper and made a better tape. And it landed on Jackie Cockle's doorstep.
Now, just to say to other people who don't know, Jackie Cockle was the exec producer, the producer of Bob the Builder.
Yes, she was, yes. But prior to that, she was at Cosgrove Hall. And she was casting for Okie Doke, which was a really cute little thing. And David Holt played Okie Doke. And it was just the two of us. After that, Jackie was basically doing other series and lots of other things. And she called upon me when Emma Chambers was going to be Wendy in Bob the Builder, but she got cast in Notting Hill. And
that would take you away, wouldn't it?
So it would, yes, indeed. And so because Jackie had worked with me before, she thought she'd give me a shot at the audition. You know, tried a few things and did a little bit more of perhaps what they had been hearing before, because it's quite difficult to get past that, isn't it, sometimes? And then just came up with Wendy, you know. It just sort of happened like that. I really enjoyed it, actually. It was great. And then, of course, we segued into other characters, and they tried me for Dizzy.
Dizzy, the cement mixer. Yes. So she was great in the yard, and she was very excited, very excitable, and everything was just amazing. It's a sort of bubbly, annoying version of me. Do you think, Keith?
Yes. Yes. I'll say
shut
that.
Up now.
It's the annoying version of you. So that went on for 10 years then, didn't it? That Bob the Builder, which at the time, with any of these jobs, anybody does, like we've all done at some point, you don't know how long they're going to go on. Usually cartoons get a series, don't they, if you're lucky?
Yes.
And maybe a recommission, but Bob was huge, wasn't it?
It was massive.
Yes.
And I don't think we really all knew necessarily that it was going to be so huge. But
no,
all he had to do really was look at how Jackie treated the product, shall we say, which was a family. It meant something. It had a story that carried for the kids, but it had something. And the thing that I loved about it was the fact that we were all recording together.
Yes.
And so we were able to do more of a radio play, really, to start with. And we're just having fun and just sort of mucking about with it. There was time to do that. We still recorded 4 episodes a day.
Right. And were you mucking about in the sense that you were able to change the script much, or just add bits?
A little bit, yeah. And then when any of us were just going off on one, Jackie would just allow it to go for a certain, just a certain, you always knew when it was time to rein it in. But some of those things that we did, I'm sure, made it into the script, and it was sort of developed everything, and it sort of. Yeah, just brought it all together, and it just made it
those gigs are a joy, aren't they?
Oh God, yeah. It's like that one, The Secret Show. Wasn't
the Secret Show was like that.
Yeah.
The Secret Show was even more than that. I think that Tony Collingwood, the producer, allowed a lot more leeway for us to mess about with the script.
Well, I don't think he actually had any choice.
No, he didn't really.
With you lot, oh my God.
Tony was unusual in that he was the writer and the producer for most of it. Didn't write all of them, but he was able to sit there and let you mess around with it.
I think that was lovely because he could see that we were coming up with ideas, because we were the ones saying the lines and we were the ones feeling the feels. I hate that expression, but I've just done it. Feeling it and telling the story, and so naturally our playful nature came out, and he was allowing that, and that was just so great.
Yeah, it was it's always the way with those slightly smaller scale gigs, because it was him, his company, his script, his production.
Yes.
Bob had a bit of a more hierarchy behind it.
Latterly, I would say.
Yes. Okay. Latterly. So initially it was smaller.
Initially, it was smaller. Being allowed, not being afraid of it, not just stepping right into it and being there. That was the joy of it, and just being free to explore and have fun with it. And I think that comes across.
But the bigger productions tend not to be like that, because there's a much more of a chain of command, isn't there?
Oh yes. I mean, it did change an awful lot. I listened to Rupert's podcast with you, and he was talking about that very thing, and talking about the last series. The last series, yeah. It was really odd. It had such a different feeling, and I preferred it before. I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it, because of course I enjoy every job I'm allowed to do. But it had a different feel, and it was we were recording all on our own. We were never. It was always individual records, and also they would sometimes animate before. Oh,
so you were dubbing essentially?
Yeah, they'd already rendered it.
Right.
So
it was fixed.
It was a bit. It was sort of fixed, and then so it was a little odd. And then there were times when I was being told how to say a line as Dizzy, rather than it would be my own creation, which of course it had been up until then. which was it was a bit jarring. It
yes.
felt rather alien, and the only thing about it was if it wasn't for Dirk Maggs, who did direct that, he made it feel okay,
Right.
to us, because I think he knew and he could see.
Yes.
But he did a grand job. But and then for it to suddenly change monumentally and get recast and rebranded and relook the whole thing. To be honest, I was actually rather devastated.
Yes.
About it.
Of course, it becomes a big part of your life, doesn't it?
Well, it was a huge part. I mean, it was the biggest job I'd ever done, and I felt so invested in it, and it was a family. It really felt like a family, and for that to all finish and then go, oh no, someone else is better. I just had to suck it up and get on with it.
Yeah, there's nothing else you can do.
There's nothing you can do. But I did mope for a bit. I must say, I must have been a nightmare. But
yes.
But thank you. But.
Well, I have to take your word for it, Kate. So, Would you say that the rest of your voice career came from Bob, or was it separate, or were you doing other stuff at the time differently, or did it...
I don't know if it really came from Bob, because I was doing other things that weren't necessarily as known. I was doing various other bits and bobs all over the place, bits of radio, bits of smaller animations that perhaps not known, and some shorts and all of that. But then generally it's been fairly consistent, the jobs. I guess people kind of just give me a shot, If I'm lucky enough, I'll get the job. But
that's the way it works, isn't it? I mean, generally.
Yeah. I mean, and just having fun with it. Being a team player, it's very much about that for me. It's fine to do it on your own. I mean, it's a different kettle of fish. Just before lockdown happened, that's when I got my booth here, and I'd always said, "Oh no, there's no way I'm gonna have my own studio. I can't do that. I can't, My husband pressurised me, actually. And he said, for goodness sake, Kate, lots of other people are doing it. It can't be that difficult. And of course, I'm not an engineer.
No.
But I'm not a technophobe. I learnt. Learnt how to edit and send things off and all that.
Because you only have to learn a certain amount.
Yes, to be fair. You just have to get on with it, really. And I'd much prefer to have somebody else do all of the technical stuff so that I can concentrate on the performance. And
a lot of people have done it now. This is
yes, they have, and I'm really glad that I did learn because lockdown happened, and then I was actually required.
Yes.
I was working, which was fantastic. And actually, I think I recorded the very first couple of episodes of Octonauts, my parts in Octonauts, Above and Beyond, here in my booth.
Okay.
But much prefer to be in the room,
Of
even
course.
if it is a solo record, with someone like Dave
Yeah.
Peacock.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a different atmosphere. It's a different thing. It's a different animal, and I much prefer it.
Yeah, I think everybody
to be
does.
actually with people. Yeah. And that's why I always feel like I'm lucky to get the work that I do, and have been lucky, really, to get the work. But the animal has changed, and we have to change with it, and that's what I kind of understand about the working from home and recording and doing all that yourself. I am aware that we are almost facing the fact that we have to be our own producer, director, marketeer, business person, and all of that. And there are certain bits of that I am absolutely terrible at. And I'm gradually learning,
I go back to the point that you're an actor and we're actors, and it's not really our job to do that stuff.
Well, the thing is, it's not. It hasn't been.
No,
but
not in the past.
It is going to be. And so therefore, if I want to stay in the game, I've got to learn, and I have got to be present. I've got to listen and watch. And that's what I'm doing. I was having a discussion with somebody, one wonderful, young, sprightly young thing, and was telling me, no, you have got to do this, you've got to do that, you've got to get yourself on there, and this is the way to do it, and this is how you monetize. And I'm going, yep, I see all that. That's okay. Maybe I'll try and get there at some point. I don't really like being forced into doing it in the way that it's done at the moment. It's a bit scary because of AI and all of that.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to come on to, and also why I'm doing this podcast, because everything is in flux, and our business has changed in almost overnight. It seems to have just flipped. It's been coming, and you could see it coming. But it hasn't been gradual. It's been a sudden flip. There it is. There's AI. There's all this stuff. And the shop window has fragmented. It's splintered.
Yes, I mean, the integrity of things, it's just become a bit throwaway and all of that. And the idea of sort of going on camera with my picture of stuff that I've done and doing a little impression of it or doing us little snippets, it just seems a bit icky. As in, like, I'm the face behind the thing, and I really don't care about the fame bit. So if somebody could work that out,
right,
and I would do it in the background, great. However, I'm very aware that the joy of it has to be maintained, and that is what I am trying to tap back into, to try and not be afraid, because the thing is, these stories and these characters mean an awful lot to people. And I'm just learning this now. I'm going to my first Comic-Con at the end of the week, which is really exciting, because I've been to a couple before, and the people that come there are, well, they were all listening and watching to my characters, and they're expressing their joy for it and appreciation for the stories and the characters. And I think that's joyous. So if there's some way of highlighting that, I'm all in.
It's the old story, though. It's a very old story, this, that the older you are, the less easy it is to adapt. We're used to doing things a certain way, and it's now no longer that way. And it is very hard to manoeuvre yourself around the older you get, because you're used to doing things. But if you've got any integrity or any need to stay in it, you have no choice. I expect people were saying exactly the same thing when we were starting out, that there were older actors saying how things have changed and how different it all is.
Well, that's it. It's true. And we do have to adapt. And actually, I think younger people get a really hard rap, actually, and they've been coping with an awful lot. I think to share in joyous things and things that make people happy, and to remember that we are there to entertain and tell a story. It's our job. That should be celebrated. So if that's how we can help ourselves to get a bit more present, then if that's how I can help myself to get more present, then that's what I need to remember. There was one time, actually, I was with some parents at a party from my son's school, and they were all talking about all the jobs that they do, and the various things that they do, and the struggles in the day and all of that. And I went home crying because I felt like a nothing. I felt awful.
Yes.
I couldn't work out what on earth I was. What was I here for? And I just thought, I feel stupid, and what am I doing? And da da da. Anyway, I was really beating up on myself, and then somebody, basically took me aside and said, "For goodness sake, Kate, what do people do when they come home and they want to, relax in front of the telly?" Or they want to entertain their child and watch something with them and get, into a family show. That's you. That's your facility.
Yes.
That's your gift.
Yes.
And of course, that gave me a great big sigh of relief. I thought, okay, I don't need to be so silly. Just embrace what it is I've been gifted to do, because it is natural to me to do it. As I say, constantly mimicking and
from the age
working
of 3,
with voices
yes,
and creating characters since then. So it's my duty to make sure that keeps coming out. And if it has to come out in a different way and I have to adapt to that way, then that's what I should do.
You also do workshops now, don't you?
Yes, I do.
Yes.
I do. And that's also something I never thought I'd do.
What did that come out of? What was the impetus for that?
I went to a mocap course called Captivate Action.
Oh, right.
And the lovely lady, Lyndall Grant, she's a fight director, she invited me and put me in touch with Clifford Milner, who was running Birmingham School of Acting, and said, have you got a workshop that you could do? So I just thought, oh, that's really nice. Oh, God, no, I can't do that. Who am I? Who am I to do
Yes.
that? And then I just went, no, come on, step out your comfort zone, work out how you do it. How do you do it? All I've come up with is I've sort of investigated how I come up with things, and I've tried to create a course that enables other people to step into their character's shoes more easily. That's all. And I'm just sharing my experience and my thoughts and ideas about how perhaps people might be able to gain more versatility in their voice, and maybe some, tips and tricks of how I've found it, and, placement of the voice and all that stuff. But mainly people just come and they remember their inner kid, frankly, and their inner giggle, which is what I try to encourage. Your sense of play completely, and freedom and lack of ego. Get that out the door.
Yes.
You're there to serve the character. Step into its shoes and serve the story. And I love being directed. I mean, I can direct myself, yes, and I've been doing direction, obviously, in these workshops, which, in fact, I'm really rather enjoying. To actually be led a little bit, and you've got it's like a conductor, isn't it?
Yes.
And they're conducting you through the journey of the story, and they've got an idea about where they want it to go and how they want it to be and the dynamics between you. So you've got to have just doubly large ears, really. You've just got to listen.
Yeah.
And then forget yourself and just step into it.
Yes, and you do lose yourself.
Yeah, you do.
It's,
you forget. It's so freeing.
Yeah, it's one of the best things ever, isn't it? It was my spiritual home, I think, sitting in a studio.
Yeah. Yes.
I didn't ever do that, Kate, but I was going to ask everybody.
Yes.
I think you've already said it, though, because
it's an Alan Partridge question. What's your favourite job? Your favourite thing you've done?
Can't I have several?
Yeah.
I sounded really whiny then, didn't I?
A better question
Go
for you
on.
is, because you're unusual in a sense, because you're not just a voice actor. So that's another one. You ask, do you prefer doing stage work or?
I love stage,
right.
and this is actually, that brings me to what would I suppose be one of the highlights I've had so far. I mean, I've had so many highlights, and I am incredibly lucky. But I was invited to do the Roy Hudlines.
Oh yes, with Dirk Maggs.
Performance.
Yes.
At the Sondheim Theatre.
Right.
And this was after I'd done the Big Ben theory with the Goodies and Joanna Lumley and John Coleshaw. They're both in the same, because they both were radio performances on stage. And I had the best of both worlds.
Yes.
And it was like Christmas, honestly. But, I mean, the second one with the Roy Hudlines, that was scary doo-doos, because I was invited to sort of possibly step in for Nicola McAuliffe. She had a prior engagement, so she wasn't sure if she was going to be able to actually continue for the last bit, literally the last bit of the show. I was in the audience, and I was aware that something was going. I felt it in my water. So I went backstage, and as I was walking into the stage door, they were going, quite harder, stage door. I went, hi,
Oh Lord.
yeah, it's me, I'm here. And wonderful Carol Smith came up to me and thrust the script into my hands and said, "You're on." I went, oh my God!
It's like 42nd Street.
Oh my God! It really was.
Yes.
Oh, it was an extraordinary experience. I walked in, and there was one of my acting heroes. Alison Steadman was there, and she was so delightful. She just said, "Now, come and sit down next to me. Just have a little go through some of these lines here." So I went through some of the jokes and some of the lines, and all the while Nicola was behind me getting her shoes on and scrubbing her face and getting ready to go. And oh God, it was crazy. I literally had I hadn't quite finished highlighting, going through, and then we were on, and I was announced, and that was it. And that was a good example of, yes, I'd had a look at the lines and I'd had a go, but very much a case of just reading it off the page. I did the whole second half. It was electric. It was such fun. I got such a buzz from it because it's that electricity that I remember was the thing that got me to do this in the first place. And that was when I was playing First Mouse Out the Oven, doing the Royal Festival Hall, the Nutcracker with the Royal Festival Ballet. And I was about 12. So they came to the school and got these kids to do the little parts. And First Mouse Out the Oven, there was me. And I auditioned for that. And I had to have
Did you bring your own oven?
No. No, I had to adapt the mask because I couldn't see. My point, getting back to the point, is that the electricity that I felt as a little kid when I heard the audience and felt the audience's energy, that was me done in then. Right. That was just, right, I need some more of this, thank you. Right. Because, it's all very well entertaining your family with voices and characters just to keep things buoyant in an actor's household, to, actually going on stage and doing something to huge effect, and whether you think it's all for you or not, and of course it isn't, but there's something about being on stage and having the electricity in between you and the audience, which I absolutely get. So, in answer to your question, that is probably the highlight so far. I want to do more of those, please.
Yeah, I can understand that. What job would you love to do, Kate?
I would love to be a character akin to, or maybe related to, Miriam Margolyes on Doctor Who.
Oh.
Thank you very much. A creature of some sort.
Yes, we'll see what we can do.
Please.
I'll get this streamed to somebody who will understand. Could you just, for the sake of the listeners who haven't heard them, the Vegemals, could you do the Vegemal voice?
Oh, good grief.
Something like out of the Octonauts. The Vegemals are little creatures. They had a weird voice.
Yes, so I had to voice match that, which was quite Trixie Minogue because they'd got their own language called Vegemalese. So I had to learn that, and there were some.
Go on then.
So there was Gruber, who was that sort of timbre, and then there was Tomino.
Okay, Turnip. That sort of, up there.
All right.
Talking in that sort of general way.
And then there was Barrett. And then there was Coddish.
Oh, yeah.
Bit sort of hillbilly-ish.
Right.
And then there was Tunip.
Octonauts to the HQ.
Ah, there you see. That was the one.
That was the one.
It sounds
Tunip.
nothing like a human being. That was what the joy of that was. It just sounded like it was on an effect on the desk, but it isn't. It's your voice. Also, the other one I loved when we worked together on The Secret Show was Dr. Doctor.
Oh, yes, I loved her.
You were also Anita Knight. And Dr. Doctor, for listeners, was the villain. One of the villains, wasn't she, in the piece?
Yes, darling.
Yes.
Eat bogey, baby.
Thanks to my unbelievable genius, I am now the master of the world. I am the only person on the planet who still has sky bikes. Destroy those sky bikes. After them. We're not catching up with them. Full throttle. Engage supercharger. Shake up and down in your seats to make it go faster.
I think it
Come
was
into my lair.
written for you, probably, that whole
Oh, and the Fluffy Bunny show. I loved her. I loved her.
Oh, you were Granny, weren't you? The old Granny.
I was.
Yes.
Yeah, sweet little Granny.
Sweet little Granny.
Hello, little cutesy pop oodle schmoodle bunny friends. Sweet little Granny here. Welcome to the Fluffy Bunny Show. Shall we sing a song? No? Okay. Fluffy, fluffy bunnies.
89-74, status update.
Code red. Go status is positive.
Deploy the arcade surround.
Oh, my!
I'm sorry, ma'am. This time slot has been taken over.
I love that so much.
Yes, thank you, team.
I've always shied away from talking about voice acting in the past because it's such a weird job. Nobody can identify with it outside of this little group. And everyone wants to do it, I think, because they think it's an easy gig. And they think you make tons of money as well.
Oh, yes, that's hilarious.
Yeah, there was a time.
And there was a time, yes, when it was decent episodic money, but not anymore.
And also commercials. They used to make a lot of money in the 80s and 90s in commercials, but that's all gone.
Yeah.
You can earn a living, but it's a weird profession.
Yeah, it certainly is. But just keeping the hope alive is you can't do anything else. You can't do anything else. You've got to keep that going. Otherwise, we just might as well all give up. I mean, we just got to diversify and open other doors, really, and maybe step into new bits like I'm thinking of doing, maybe a bit more direction. I'd like to do that.
Are you talking about voice direction or stage?
Other things, yeah, voice direction,
right.
yeah. For animation,
okay.
Capitalising on the things that I've worked on. I've thoroughly enjoyed directing the people when they've come to the workshops, and now I'm stepping back onto the stage and I'm doing many more auditions because my son is about to fly the nest. So I'm now looking to get a little bit more present and be amongst things a bit more. Yeah, actually.
And do some stage work or
do some stage work. Yeah.
Okay.
Some plays and some comedy, especially.
Yeah, that'd be good. Well,
thanks.
What a joy it has been, Kate.
Oh, thank you.
To talk to you at length for a change.
Well, thank you very much, and it's been a joy to talk to you.
Yes.
As well.
Well, thank you.
I've thoroughly enjoyed it.
Good.
And good luck with the edit, because I did make quite a few mistakes.
It's fine.
Making myself look like a sort of, menopausal idiot. One of those things is true.
One of those things is true.
I'll leave it up to you which one.
Yes. I know that voice was presented by Keith Wickham, and this week's guest was me, the lovely and hugely talented Kate Harbour. Yes. It was produced by Keith Wickham for Humbug Radio. Thank you for coming. All the best.